Hello students, today in this video we are going to do the analysis of the line graph. As you know, in our last videos we have discussed about the analytical paragraph and the aspects. So the first aspect of analytic paragraph which we are going to do today is line graph. If you remember, in our last video I have given you the vocabulary to be used in analytical paragraph while doing the line graph. Okay, so here on your screen, let's see, the question is given to you and how you have to do. Let's talk about that. I told you in the last video that the introductory paragraph is there. That's the first thing which we have to do. Then we have to do the overview, then the body of the paragraph, and then we have to conclude, right, the conclusion paragraph. So in introductory paragraph I just gave you one advice that you have to paraphrase the question itself. So let's read the question. The graph below shows the proportion of the population aged 65 and over between 1940 and 2040 in these different countries, and the countries given you are Japan, Sweden, USA. The blue line is for Japan, red line is for Sweden, and the green line is for the USA. On x-axis we have years from 1940 to 2040, and on y-axis we have the percentage of the people that the old people which are aging 65 and over, right? So this we have to see. Now see the paragraph, the question itself is telling us what, so that we have to paraphrase, and how we have to write down the introduction paragraph. Let's see. See, under the paragraph I have given you the introduction paragraph that the line graph compares the percentage of people aged 65 or more in Japan, Sweden and USA over a period of 100 years, right? So because we came to know that this year duration, that is from 1940 to 2040, so means 100 years gap is there, so that we have to write down here. And then one more thing, there in the question they have written the 3 different countries, right? And I have written here the names: Japan, Sweden and USA. So that is called the paraphrasing, means in your own language you have to write down this introduction, okay? But that should be only related to the question provided to you. Now the next thing we have to see, we have to just have a close look. We have to just study this line graph or bar graph or whatever. Right now we are doing line graph. So let's see. This on y-axis here we have given the percentage of the people, right? And here on the y-axis we have been given the years, right? So here we have to notice 2 very important things, that from the starting, when it is on the initial stage, what is the the result here, and on the final stage what is the result, right? So here you can see the graph is given between, this line is given between 5 to 10, means the number, the population rate, that is in percentage we have to write down. So blue line is for Japan, so that is near about 5 or 6 somewhere, we are not sure it is what, right? But we can just it is probably between 5 to 10, so it is 5 or 6 we may take that. Sweden is exactly between 5 to 10, so it is 7. We can imagine, we can think that it is 7, right? And the green line, that is for the USA, that is near about 9 or 8 somewhere. So that the probable, we cannot have the specific of that, but we can just guess it like that. Okay, so let's see. And where the steep curve is there, right? Like here here is this that point, Japan is having, you know, continuous increase in that. There is no downfall in that. So that thing we have to write down. And one more point is there, that here at this point there is a continuous, you know, growth in all the three countries. So this also we have to write down in our graph. So let's see how it is done. It is clear that this is the overview, right? The second paragraph means you will do after the introduction, and you have to change the paragraph here. So it is clear that the population of elderly people increases in each country between 1940 and 2040. And as I told you that Japan is expected to see the most dramatic changes in its elderly population. As I have told you, that is growing, you know, here it is growing only. So that is, we have to write down that Japan is expected to see the most dramatic changes in its elderly population, right? Now next what we have to do, let's see. Once again we have to do the, now we have to give the body paragraph, right, where we have to give the things in detail. Whatever we have discussed in our overview, that we have to give in detail, right? So this body paragraph you can divide in 2 paragraphs. That's your choice, what you know, according to the trends. You can just give your choices here, right? You have to give the means explanation of that you have to do here. So let's see what first body paragraph says. In 1940, right, here it is in 1940 we are talking about here in the starting, around 9% of Americans were aged. So Americans I have taken to the people who are living in USA, right? So these things I have added from my side. So in 1940 around 9% of Americans were aged 65 or over, compared to about 7% of Swedish. Now the Sweden was where is the Sweden? Sweden is in red line. So Sweden is at near about 7, as I have told you in the starting. So it is near about, it is here somewhere about 7, right? About 7. So 7% of Swedish people and 5% of Japanese people. So it is near about 5. No, this Chinese, this Japanese, that is here at the 5. So we have done 7%, 9% or 5%. 9% for Americans, 7% for people who are living in Sweden, Swedish people, and 5% for the Japanese people. And the proportions of elderly people in the USA and Sweden rose gradually over the next 50 years here. At this point, over the next 50 years, these population, this population was the people who are older than 65, this population that rose gradually over the next 50 years, reaching just 15% in 1990. So when we will talk about here, this point here, overall increase is going here in all the 3 countries. So this is the point where this is growing, right? Next we have to see, in 1940 around 9% of Americans, that's the same thing I am doing, this is a first body paragraph, but I am reading this for you once again. So what we have to write down, in 1940 around 9% of Americans were aged 65 or over, compared to about 7% of Swedish people and 5% of Japanese people, right? The proportions of elderly people in the USA and Sweden rose gradually over the next 50 years, reaching just under 15% in 1990. Okay, next. Now what we have to do, we have to look for second body paragraph, which would be paragraph number 4. Clear? So here we have to give something like we have discussed that it was increasing at the initial stage, near about 1990 it was gradually increasing. And what we have to say, right now we are in 2020, right? We are here. So it is given for our future, that future graph is also given here, that in 2040 what would be the rate of population of the aged people 65 and over. So that also we have to do. Then we can add here that looking into the future, when we have to see here after 2020, right, till 2040. So looking into the future, a sudden increase in the percentage of elderly people is predicated for Japan. So here you can see here at this point at Japan, right, there is a sudden change, right, it is increasing only. So what we have done, that looking into the future, a sudden increase in the percentage of elderly people is predicated for Japan, with a jump of over 17% in just 20 years from 2040, because there is a gap of 20 years here, 2020 to 2040. So 17%, right, here we can see here the percentage from this y-axis we can take, and that is what, near about 17%, right. So we can just do the calculation here, that from there it was first from 7 and then it went near up to 17 somewhere, clear. So we can just see, you know how to see the graph. So that we can discuss here, that calculation we can do here, and according to that we have to do. With a jump over 17% in just 20 years from 2020, 2 means there is a gap. No, earlier it was 5. Earlier it was what, 5 at the initial stage, here it was 5, and when we are watching it here at the 2040, it is reaching, you know, at the 25. So what's the gap? There is of 17 numbers, right. So 17% we can do here. So 17% just 20 years from 2020 to 2040. And then final we have to do two things are very important while doing this analysis, right. The first important point is initial, and the last one, what is the overall growth towards the end, that we have to give. Okay, so by 2040 it is thought that around 27% of the Japanese population will be 65 years old or more, while the figures for Sweden and USA will be slightly lower. They are also increasing, but the growth is slightly lower. They are not increasing as Japan is doing, you know. So that is different. So here also contrast is there. A contrast is there. That contrast we have to give. Okay, that Japan is growing gradually and at the top, right, but Sweden and USA, there will be slight low, at the low side the growth is slight low, at about 25% and 23 respectively. And that's all. This is the complete explanation of the graph we have done. So that's how we have to do the analytical paragraph. Okay, now let's see the full conclusion of that what we have done in our complete paragraph. So let's read all 4-5 paragraph whatever we have done. So the line graph compares the percentage of people aged 65 or more in Japan, Sweden and the USA over a period of 100 years. So this was introduction paragraph, right. When we'll go to the overview, this paragraph is an overview. So here it is written that it is clear that the proportion of elderly people increases in each country between 1940 and 2040, and Japan is expected to see the most dramatic changes in its elderly population. Here also you can see in the graph, right. Next is the paragraph, the body paragraph number 1, and here we have done in 1940, we have to give a detail of this, right. So here we have done in 1940 around 9% of Americans were aged 65 or over, compared about 7% of Swedish people and 5% of Japanese people. And then the proportion of elderly people in the USA and Sweden rose gradually over the next 50 years and reaching just under 15% in 1990. And then next paragraph, the body paragraph number 2, which will become paragraph number 4 of your this passage, right. The percentage of elderly people is predicted for Japan with a jump of over 17% in just 20 years from 2020 to 2040. Then the conclusion, we are concluding this. So this actually by mistake I have written here, this should be in the down line. So by 2040, it is thought that around 27% of the Japanese population will be 65 old or more, while the figures for Sweden and the USA will be slightly lower at about 25% and 23% respectively. So that's how you have to do analytical paragraph. Thank you very much for this. Watching this, and in the next video we will do the how to the second aspect of this analytical paragraph, that is bar graph. Till then, practice this type of exercises. Thank you very much.